Let's see if this works this time. I'm going to try this. I'm sorry, still eating lunch. And I have to confess, I got very, 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 very distracted when I went to set this up. My husband called me in and said, "Oh, this is from Amazon. It says your package is all messed up." And I tried to tell him it was a scammer, but he didn't listen. So I'm eating pizza, and I want to talk about bonded choice. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write for Pathos for nearly 10 years. A column called No Longer Quivering, where I talked about Quiverful and all the associated problematic religions, organizations, whatever. I wanted today to talk about Ron Luce and Teen Mania, but that's going to have to wait for another day. It's a long, long, long one. Oh, Jan, hey, yeah. And I'm actually able to get on. I can't believe it. I was really shocked. Put last my pizza away somewhere where the cat can't get it. Because I'm dealing with my cats here. Okay. Let me tell everybody to do the YouTube things, hit like, subscribe. I would really appreciate that. If you don't want to follow me, that's fine too. You don't have to. So don't believe anybody I talk about here. These are just my opinions on the matter based upon many years of dealing with some of these religions. Hey, Sandy. Yeah, I finally was able to go live. I can't always. Don't bully. Don't be rude. And thank you for watching. I have to say all that crap at the beginning. Oh, oh, Jan. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, there's so much of the stuff that has to be discussed in such detail that it's kind of funny. When I left No Longer Quivering, I'm sorry, there's some strange guy on a motorcycle staring through my gate, which happens to be open at this second. And he's wearing a face mask. Okay. Oh, no, no, no. Okay. I always get worried when I see people outside the gate and the gate's open. And it's horribly distracting, particularly when I see somebody like this who has a box with him and a bunch of other weird stuff. It's closing. Oh, it looks like he's bringing goat's milk. Not to me. I don't do that. Long story short, in my distractible self, you're seeing the ADD me. Okay, I want to talk about bonded choice today. I know I've been jumping all over the place like a frog on Adderall. I'm going to try to focus down now. Lord, give me patience. On a Sunday that's getting ready to be super busy. So I want to squeeze this out while I'm thinking about it. I've been seeing a lot of people going after Anna Duggar, and not just our least favorite without a box of Kleenex person, but there are a lot of video bloggers that have been going after Anna. And in the years, I've been doing this and my Pathos thing, almost 10 years. I try not to ever go after Anna for a couple of reasons. Of all the people I met when I met the Duggar signing, Anna seemed like she was the most genuine and the most normal of all of them. That's not saying much, I know, because the Quiverful, oh my God, no, 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 no. This is something I don't like. Bad thing about Costa Rica, I just pull out a tissue, it had a roach on it or a water bug or something. I hope they're not living in there. So back to Anna. She was quite nice to me, and she was the only one that I felt was pretty normal of the whole bunch. Hey, Stephanie, happy Sunday to you too. She seemed like the most normal. I've since heard later from various people that she is a Quiverful mean girl. I don't know how true that is. I like to say that about her. I'm not going to make that judgment since my only interactions with her were so limited. I met Anna once, Dan, at a Duggar book signing. And the people in front of me were taking forever to go down the line of Duggars. So I was getting caught at various places and actually having a conversation. And I had the longest conversation with Anna and with one of the brothers. One of the ones that I still think may have a different sexuality than the others. I'm not going to say who that was. So Anna was nice to me. Anna's rumored to be a mean girl. Josh came running up while I was at the book signing because he was late because he was working at Family Research Council. This is before all of the horrible Josh Duggar nonsense came out in the media. And I remember thinking then she was enough different than the Duggars that I wondered if things went haywire, if she was going to be able to break away. I'm sad to report she is not. She is what I've called bonded choice. She has no choice. This is very common in Quiverful. And not just Quiverful, it's very common in certain kinds of fundigelical type churches, certain types of fundigelical type groups, because not everybody is part of the same religion. You know, I said I needed to rant about Ron Luce and Teen Mania. It's a good example of an organization that encompasses a ton of churches and people's theology, but isn't actually linked to one theology or a church. So a lot of Quiverful people are like that, and they dilly-dally go here and go there, pick up this, pick up that. But there are still some hard and fast rules for a lot of these women, and a lot of their choices are not really choices. You know, to have a choice, you actually have to have some personal power. Women in this type of religion don't have a lot of personal power. They have the whatever personal power their husband allows in patriarchy. And that's kind of sick and twisted, but it's kind of how it is with them. So I was hoping with Anna living in the DC area that some of the go-go Northern Virginia, Maryland would rub off on her. It had already had at that point. She was dressing a little different than her sisters-in-law, but going back to Arkansas would have just doubled down on everything in Duggartown. So the thing with bonded choice is that as a woman, you think you don't have any choice. You don't have any personal power. You think that all of your choices are so limited that they actually aren't choices, that you're doing what God wants you to do by submitting to your husband in every way. Now, your husband may give you a little tiny bit of responsibility and things that you can do. The house maybe doesn't give a rat's patoot what you do to the house. And I've seen that in Quiverful too. As long as you don't spend a lot of money, the husband does not care, as long as meals are on the table. You smile, you don't give him any trouble, you don't forcibly engage him into intellectual conversations. Hey, Angela, I'm doing okay. I'm not doing great, but I'm doing okay. The weather is kind of funky here. So they want women to be like a smiling sex robot, basically, that cooks and cleans and does not bug them. A lot, no, but I can speculate on that in a minute because I know there is one. I should probably look it up, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the one in Phoenix, Arizona, because the federal prison in Phoenix handles guys who have the same kind of sentences, Josh. People who have done CP, CA. So the federal system puts a lot of them all together, because if they don't, they have the tendency to end up dead or beat down or whatever. In prison, you wouldn't think there'd be a hierarchy, but there is a hierarchy. There's a hierarchy that the guys that harm women and children are down the bottom of that. And for the ones that actually take part in CP, they are kind of the lowest of the lowest of the lowest. So I think that's what's going to happen with him. I have a feeling that's where he's going to end up. I know one of the letters people sent from the family, I think they asked for him to be put locally. And they may do that. And if they do, I don't see anything good happening from that. I could be wrong, but anyway. So you're right. Anna does remind one of the movie, The Stepford Wives, the newer one and the older one, The Stepford Wives. So bonded choice is like that. You have this very tiny box of things you're allowed to do that are your realm, and they're determined by your husband. Your husband is the only one that can give you any power to do anything. And a lot of them don't because of the Bill Gothard umbrella thing. And this is followed by patriarchs that aren't even know who Bill Gothard is, like God, Jesus, husband, wife, children. And the wives are sometimes given less opportunity than the children to do different things. It's a crazy way to live. It's a crazy making way to live. And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I had hoped when it first came out, not about the sisters, because Anna said that he told her about that before they got married, that she was well aware of that she was aware that he had struggled with pornography. And she still married him anyway. I don't think she had much of a choice because Josh's family at the time that Anna married them. And while there were whispers and gossip about the fact that Josh had done all this stuff, it wasn't common knowledge outside of the religious group. It just was not. It just never made it out. Oh, am I buffering? Okay. Am I buffering? Buggering? Okay, let's try this again. Let's try. Oh, Jan. I'm back. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with my internet. They put in all new internet cables and everything, and it's still kind of wonky. So, like I said, your choice is no choice. It's a Stepford Wives thing. You know where your boundaries are. Okay, I'm back. You know where your boundaries are. You know where your limits are. And I was hoping that when it came out about Ashley Madison, that Anna would have listened to some of her brother and gotten out. One of her brothers offered to help her get out. Here's the thing with bonded choice, these kind of groups, when something like this happens. And like I said, I saw this happen in my old church. And what happened was the lady ended up divorcing her husband. But it took so much to get her to do that. It actually took the pastor saying, you know, your husband did SA to your children. It is perfectly okay to divorce him for such a thing. And she did. She divorced him and she blocked him from ever seeing the children again. I think that if someone that Anna respects in her church were to approach it that way after a while, because it's going to take a while, you don't get over these thought patterns and bonded choice easily. You have to learn that there are more choices out there for you, that you're not going to fall apart or go to hell or anything else if you leave your church family. And those things take time to sink in. And on the other side, you know that Jim Bob Duggar is on the other side telling Anna she can't leave, she has to stay forever, and putting the screws to her, probably saying, look, I'll support you for the rest of your life, you and the kids, but you have to stick by Joshua. What happens in these groups is the women stay. And even if they start having thoughts of not staying, if the people around them are not supportive of them, that's what they end up doing. They stay to have a support system. And that's what I think is going to end up happening with Anna. Even if Josh gets a lengthy sentence, and I'm going to say it again, if Josh gets a lengthy sentence and he gets out, or a short sentence and he gets out. I'm sorry, my eye is driving me nuts. He is going to likely be forbidden to move back into the home with their kids under 18. He'll be on the sex offenders registry forever. Angela, I don't know if he's actually said that, but everything that I've seen and heard about Jim Bob makes me think that that wouldn't be out of the wheelhouse of possibilities of things he might tell her. He might tell her that if you leave, Josh, I will take your kids away from you. I wouldn't doubt it at all that he said that. And if he did, that's just hideous. I think she needs to know if she leaves, she has support. Pushing her to leave will only make her double down more to stay. She needs to come to her own time. Sadly, she may never leave. Heather, that's what I'm thinking. And I think that all the voices yelling at her that she must leave are going to have zero effect until she gets to that point where she realizes that she owes her children more of an obligation than she owes him. I wonder the same thing. Is she afraid to lose her children? Sandy, I think it's a combination of things. She would be afraid to lose her children. She would definitely lose any financial support at all from the Duggar family. And we know from Jill and her husband that Jim Bob is rather parsimonious with what he hands out to his children of the money that was made during 19 Kids and Counting. And I don't think that money is going to last forever. It takes a ton of money to run a household. I know how much it takes us here just for electricity, okay? And we're not living in that giant tin mansion. So I'm not sure how much is actually left at this point. I wonder if Anna thinks she could have overnight visits with Josh. She may think that. But the thing is, there is none of that in federal prison ever. They don't do that. That would strictly be a state prison thing, and it varies from state to state to state. Some states do not allow conjugal visits. Some do. I have mixed feelings about conjugal visits. While I think it's important, if you're going to stay married, to have times of intimacy, I'm not sure that a man that has committed the kind of crimes that gives you many years in prison has any right to expect intimacy from anyone, or even any type of relationship with their spouse. I mean, I can't think of anything that would be worse than being married to someone who has that kind of sentence to I guess maybe number 7 will be the last one. Angela, I think that one is going to be the last one, and for ever length of time it takes Josh to get out of jail, because look at the light sentence that Jared Fogle from Subway got. He had way more child porn than Josh did, and he was producing it. I understand that his hard drive had terabytes of it, huge amounts. And he didn't get much time for what he'd done. I wonder if Anna thinks she can have she probably does. Calling her names, telling her how stupid and selfish she is will only push her to stay. It will reinforce in her mind that we were all bad. Heather, that's exactly right. That's the thing. I think that the best thing we can do is just kind of have compassion for Anna, let her know that there are people that will be helpful, that will support her. The problem is when we have YouTubers that speculate in nasty ways about this stuff and that carry on that they're destructing cults and various other things, the only thing that happens is they shut off more and more escape hatches, more organizations that will help people escape. They do that. That's the bad effect of making all this crap sensationalized, is the fact that it stops people from being able to get out. It takes away support systems. It takes away, dare I say it, even kind of like underground railroads of women that can help you get out, and men. So Anna Duggar, I think she needs therapy more than anything else. But I know that Jim Bob thinks therapy is the devil because that's taught in those kinds of churches. Went through that with my old church. So they think that. They think that if you use a therapist, that it's demonic. The same thing with therapy drugs, setting daughters up for failure, such as minimal education, opening them to men, and then being forced to have tons of children, be told you cannot take government assistance. Jan, that is true. I hope Anna will get away from Jim Bob. He looks creepy and evil. Exactly. Well, the thing is, I would have no problem with someone like Anna getting out and going on government assistance because let's face it, life is not perfect. I doubt she has much in the way of real assets or what I'm going to say, liquid assets. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I just don't get the impression that there's a lot of money there. So I'm hopeful there are people out there that are understanding that'll talk to her like Deanna and Amy, even though I think Amy's rant against Anna was maybe somewhat uncalled for. Therapy equals too much honesty. Yes, exactly. Therapy is evil. It's not just evil. One of the reasons that fundamentalist religion is so opposed to therapy and drugs is because it takes a lot of the control for the individual's mindset out of the hands of whoever the religious leader is, or the husband, or any of that. It makes a person harder for somebody else within the group to control once that's taken away. Once you go into therapy and you start looking at this stuff, and there's some really good Christian counselors out there, not all of them. My husband had some really horrible ones, including one that told me that I was the problem because I wasn't submissive enough. He was independent fundamentalist Baptist, the one that said that. Later, he had one that was a Christian who had a actual genuine counseling degree, a master's degree from UVA, as well as was a Christian. And she was licensed as a practicing therapist, unlike this guy, this IFB guy, who I was questioning him about his credentials. At one point, he got very, very angry. KJ cremation. I saw that. I have no clue what's going on there. That is why I started putting a disclaimer at the beginning of all my videos and said, don't harass anybody. Please don't harass anybody, because somebody must have reported her as dead. But here's the thing. I thought that they had to see like a death certificate or something of that nature, or even an online thing. So I'm going to look into that when I get off of here. I don't have a lot of time today. It's a problem with me. I am getting ready to go to we have a kind of like a community little theater sort of organization, and my husband bought tickets. I'm not real thrilled to go, but I'm going just to be a support to the community. They're doing Beauty and the Beast, and the room is not air conditioned, and we're having an extremely humid, hot day today here, which is why I'm in my bedroom with the AC on right now. It's a really bad day for that. So between that and the fact that he wants to go see his favorite band beforehand at a beach bar, which we're going to do, so it's going to be more of an afternoon than I would like. I'm going to be all out of peopling and out of spoons before this night is over with. I'm tempted to skip the play and give my ticket to somebody else, but I know my poor husband would not be happy. And there's also navigating the minefield of divorcing friends. They're both going to be there with their new significant others. Just crazy. Think how the beast will feel. Jan, I've thought about that. And one of my best friends is playing one of the animated pieces of furniture. And I've seen her costume. I've seen the makeup she's had to wear for this. And it would not be me. She's doing 2 performances today in that get up. And all I can do is look at it and think, instant sweat. At least the beach bar, there's a breeze. There won't be at this place. This is enclosed and they have fans. Maybe. I think they have fans. So if you have to wear the beast costume, better do it in some place that's air conditioned. They used to hold these theatrical projections in my old church here, Tamarindo Church, which is a building, an indoor building. It's the only church I know of here that is, besides in Liberia. And they had air conditioning. Not this time. This is the back of beyond. So where was I? I was talking about KJ. So yeah, I'm going to take a look at that. The other thing I wanted to talk about, just a hair today at the end of this, is Backwoods Barbie has made a video claiming that Natalie Kennett has never showed her face and that she's KJ. I just want to completely debunk that here now. Natalie Kennett has definitely shown her face. She's done some videos and you can hear her talking and see her face. She's taken those videos down, but she has definitely shown her face. We've seen that she is not KJ. The FBI has confirmed that she is in the UK. And it's kind of disingenuous to say things like that when you know they're not true and there's evidence. That's one thing. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to look into this with KJ. And if I look into something and I see it's not true or I see it's true, I make that announcement. And if something happens to change that, I'll come up. I have no trouble saying, hey, I was wrong. I was seriously wrong about this. There are so many people in the community that are quite popular that I don't follow because I see their problematic nature. I see some of the things that they do. Backwoods Barbie loves her out of left field conspiracy theories. Remember when Saul wasn't a real person and the tattoo suit was all faked for dollars? Yeah, I remember those. I remember her saying those things. And I'm going to say this about Backwoods Barbie. Well, she got real offended with me recently because I was kind of laughing and saying $100,000 isn't much money to live upon. Because where I'm from, it's not. And I realized later that was extremely elitist of me to say. I tried to apologize. I got blown off. She lives in a place without a lot of economic opportunity. YouTube has given her some type of income stream. I don't know what that is, what that looks like. I don't know if she needs it. So I'm thinking that's what's going on. If she can come up with something wild to drive the views, she's going to do it. And more power to her, more power to her. If that's what works for her, I don't like that sort of behavior. I don't take part in that kind of behavior. KJ has reached a new low with her recent content about the Duggars, not protecting the Duggars. But KJ is just wrong and weird. Prairie, she's not the only one. That's what I find really disturbing about the recent reveals. That's why I said that unless you were actually a member of these kind of CULT churches where you've experienced this, you shouldn't be reading the documents and the depositions of the girls of what happened to them when they were children. You shouldn't be sitting there and bloviating over every stupid little detail. Therapy can be extraordinarily empowering if a client is well matched with a supportive, educated, insightful therapist. Another truth that is so true. And yeah, so Jim Bob sees everything as a threat that's taught in those kind of churches. I'm not going to mention the news channel because most of the news channels that I've seen are not really news channels anymore. They're more like advertorials. They're advertising, pushing something or some theology or some mindset. All of them across the board are doing this. So there are a few that push the mindset of Jim Bob Duggar. I'm going to say that. And that is, living in fear is a miserable, horrible way to live your life. Trust me. I've seen it. I know people it's wrecked their lives. KJ is angry. Emily D. Baker has more subs. Yes, Emily D. Baker passed her like a rocket. I knew that was coming because I knew that Emily does her content in a good way. She does it and it comes out well. She's a lawyer. I appreciate her view on some of these legal documents because, like I said, I am not a lawyer. So when I'm looking at these documents, I don't always know what I'm looking at. I can look at it and say, okay, I think this is what this is saying, but I don't actually know that that's what it's saying. So I saw that, Jan. I saw that down the rabbit hole at bedtime said something really nice. She's really a wonderful person in how she handles this. And she's also dealt with this. I got a kick out of her showing that the hotel suite that she was in that had been used in Crazy Rich Asians, I think was the name of the movie. Interesting. Very interesting. I'd like to see how the other half lives sometimes. I expect everyone who was angry about EKC and KJ would also be angry about the Duggar Girls report being read on stream. I haven't seen it yet, though. Hypocrisy is all I'm seeing, Heather. There's a lot of that. There is a lot of that. Emily is predictably kind to her listeners, even the ones that show up and are jerks. And everybody on YouTube is going to get jerks. I mean, it just happens. I don't get the level of jerkitude that I used to get at NLQ. I got horrible, horrible jerks until I started Jerks from Jesus and just started moving them all there. It was the best thing I ever did. It just cut them off the knees. They knew that if they posted on NLQ and told me I was going to hell in my handbasket, that I was going to post it there and laugh at them after I'd blocked them. And I don't really enjoy blocking people, but it is a necessary evil if you are online as a creator in any way, shape, or form. Any creator has the ability and or rights to block anybody that's being problematic. The toilet was crazy, Jan. It really was. And I'm envious because I suspected that toilet probably had, well, they probably had a bidet somewhere in there. I would really want a bidet. I've been bugging my husband for one. I think when we do another remodel of the bathrooms, I might insist because I want a bidet and a bathtub in there. I don't have either one. I think to do that, we're going to probably have to take out this retaining wall and move it a little bit. Bedroom's big enough. We have plenty of room to do that. Summer wells, I know very little about, so I can't really give you any kind of an educated anything on summer wells. I'm going to have to research what who Summer Wells even is. Sometimes there's these things I don't know. Yeah, I would love a bidet. Yes, exactly. I want one. I want that toilet too, even though I don't really need a heated toilet seat here. It's warm enough. But the different functions would be nice. In Iran, a bidet was a water pitcher with a long spout. Jan, I've seen that too, and I've seen some of those like that here. I've also seen bidet bottles and things because after my bladder kidney infection that I had no symptoms of, I started reading up on how to avoid kidney infection with these things. And they said the use of a bidet was actually very helpful. But after some crazy experiments, I had to say, okay, so maybe this is not the way to go. I think Summer Wells is deceased or a victim of human trafficking, more likely deceased. I think her parents had a hand in her death or disappearance. Yeah, I'm not sure who she was. I've heard the name said. I don't know anything more than that. Now, there was a case I was following at NLQ that was about Wells Church in Texas, and I don't know how that ever resolved. I'm going to have to go back and look at that one too. In the last couple of days, I've fallen down a Ron Luce shaped hole. Because like I said, I'm writing about my old church. The other children removed from their home. Ooh, that's usually a bad sign. When social services removes children from the home if someone's missing, that usually means they have a pretty good clue that it may have been abuse going on and that child is dead. I fell down this Ron Luce shaped hole, and because I started writing about my daughter going on 2 mission trips to Europe, one to Romania for the entire summer and one to Poland and Germany. Jan, yes, it is. NLQ is still there. Almost all of my pieces are still up. There's only a few that have been removed as far as I could tell. They did take down like the custom pictures and things that I had on there. They took some of that stuff down. But when you leave Pathos, the way it works is they have the right to retain and publish your pieces that you have up there. And in all cases, but 2 people I know of, they've kept the pieces up and they keep making money. But the minute you say, okay, I'm done here, they no longer pay you for any hits. So I'm not making any more money off of NLQ and Pathos is, but Pathos, when I left, they were in kind of sad shape. So I don't know what's happened there since. I do know that almost everybody in the non-religious specter pulled up stakes and went to Only Sky. Was moving to Costa Rica a happy move? Sorta, kinda. It was a hard move. I'm not gonna lie. Most of the moving fell on me, not on my husband. My husband is Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky. My father used to call him the nutty professor, to tell you something about my husband, because he always was one of those guys that he was useless at anything practical. He's gotten better here because he's had to. He's gotten a lot better at some of these things because I've had a stroke. I don't have the ability that I once had to do a lot of different things. So he does things like he sweeps for me because I can't sweep well. You need balance to be able to sweep, and I don't have that much balance anymore. So the move, all of it fell on me. I had to remodel our house. He came here as part of a Peace Corps kind of affiliated school in the Central Valley of Costa Rica to teach. And he was there 5 months. I was there 4 months. I had to remodel the house and put everything in storage, everything in storage. And then I joined him after I shipped the things I thought we'd need. Hey, Squidward. So we got there. I've talked a bunch about my slamming up against the culture here when I first got there, because this was a school in the top of the mountains where it's actually cold, 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 cold. And I never dreamed it was cold because every other time I've been here, it was warm everywhere. It was very poor. And it was such a cultural dislocation for me. The first day I went to the landlord and I said, hey, can I have some towels, some hand towels, and some washcloths? And I said it in Spanish. I'd even worked it out what I was supposed to say and all of that. And she said, what are you talking about? She didn't know about washcloths or hand towels. She did not. She knew nothing of those things. And I asked her for a top sheet to the bed, and she said she didn't know what I was talking about either. So the culture was just, oh, did she? That's awesome. She's a really great person. I like her videos. So that was my cultural dislocation from the beginning. And I've said a bunch of times the first 4 months I was here and I was in Copain, the first month I cried every single day. It was really difficult. Like I said, I had to do all the work to get ready to make the move. I had to ship the car. I had to ship the motorcycle. I had to ship what I thought we would need, because I really thought that we were going to do what everybody does, what like 95% of the people who move here do. You know what that is? At the end of the 2 years, they move back. And I didn't want to ship too many things. But that's not what happened. What happened was at about a year, well, just under a year in, we bought a house and we decided to stay. We lived here and said, let's buy a house and ship everything over. Let's sell the house in the States. Let's stay. And that's exactly what we did. And then the aduana, which are the tax people, they seized 2/3 of our household goods. 2/3. And I was not able to retrieve them because there was a snafu with the paperwork. My realtor had packed the shipping crate and he screwed up the paperwork. Aduana seized all that stuff. I was very upset for a long, long time about it. But you know something? Being here without all my stuff has not been bad. I don't miss it at all. I don't miss any of my stuff that they seized. Once in a great while, I'll go in the kitchen and I'll start cooking. I'll start looking for some specialized cooking item that I used to have. And it's like, oh, yeah, they got that. So they seized all my crap, including my wedding dress and most of my quilting fabric and some of my yarn and various things. And it was what it was. And we're here, we're staying, we love it here. But 95% of the people that come here go back after 2 years because they can't handle the cultural dislocation. If you know about it, you're prepared for it, and you think, okay, I can get past this, you may love it here. It's peaceful, it's quiet. It's absolutely beautiful. Oh my goodness. I have to show you guys. You see the cat in the background? That is one of my strays that comes here every day. He's a wild man. Come here, wild man. Come here, wild man. This is not my cat. This is a stray that comes to visit me once a day who's quite playful. And I just love it here. I have monkeys in the backyard. We have huge parrots that come through all the time. I see them. It's just the most incredible, beautiful place. And the house I have here is twice the size of the one I had in the States, and I paid a lot less for it. And I've got a guest house. So there's some big benefits to moving here, and one of them is health, because it's a lot easier to exercise and do things here. And the health care is top notch and much cheaper than the States. Okay, so back to all this crapola with Anna and Josh and the rest of them. I think what's going to happen is eventually Anna's going to regret everything, and it'll be too late. She won't be able to disentangle herself from Jim Bob Duggar. She'll be stuck. Everybody will expect her to stay with Josh. Do you mind if I ask where you're from originally and where you moved to Costa Rica from? Squidward, I don't mind at all. I was raised in South Louisiana. My family is from a little tiny town called Ponchatoula, Louisiana. It's a little tiny town next to Bayou Manchac, across the river, across the Lake Pontchartrain from New Orleans. I have a lot of family in the New Orleans area, all over the place down South Louisiana. Met my husband in South Louisiana, married him, and then we spent time living in Germany. We spent some time in Turkey and various other places. And then we moved to Virginia, to the DC suburbs, and we lived there for almost 30 years before we got here. And the first 4 or 5 months we were here, we were in Cope de Dota, which is up in the Central Valley, like I said, up in the mountains. And we moved to the Tamarindo area. Tamarindo Beach is like 5 minutes from here. I actually live closer to Playa Grande, which is the most beautiful beach I've ever seen in my entire life. It's a mile and a half that way, a mile and a half due west. And I go there a lot. We go there a lot because it's just so incredibly beautiful. There's no development. It's a national park. The turtles spawn there, and you get to see the turtles in the middle of the day even. I think that we could pretty much guess. Squidward always had itchy feet, always went everywhere, unlike my relatives in Louisiana. None of them had itchy feet. I think the reason none of Josh's brothers and sisters wrote letters is they're probably extremely resentful. Even if they like him, I'm sure they're extremely resentful for what's happened, because how many times now has he crashed the family enterprise and made them lose money? I mean, he got the first show, 19 Kids and Counting, done. He's done it again to the Counting On shows. He has killed the family golden goose, the family franchise. So these are kids that aren't very educated. They have substandard educations. They're not qualified to do much, okay? So Josh killed the golden goose that was supporting them all. And so now they may have to go out and get real jobs and deal with the fallout from the fact that their parents kept them like veal in a cage, veal in a box. And I'm sure they hate him for that. And I don't blame them. I mean, he killed for them what was their main source of income. How do you think the judge perceives those family and neighborhood letters in relation to the crimes and what he probably has prior knowledge of? Um, Here's what I think could be. Okay. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Jack Shope. Jack Shope used to be the lead pastor of First Baptist Church in Hammond, Indiana. He also ran the Hyles Anderson College there, head of the IFB. He was like the Pope of the IFB, and his late father-in-law before him, Jack Hyles, was the Pope of the IFB too. And like Jack Hyles, he had sexual scandals too. He got caught with a 16-year-old girl that he was having relations with, that he was supposed to be counseling for having been sexually abused. He was sexually abusing someone he was supposed to be counseling for sexual abuse. He got caught violating the Mann Act, which is bringing, someone underage across state lines for the purposes of hijinks. And he ended up pleading guilty because he was told what they had so much evidence that was ridiculous on him. So they said, look, plead guilty and we'll see if we can get you 10 years. He pled guilty. His entire church wrote to the judge demanding that he be given no time or very little time, and claiming the girl was an SULT and all kinds of awful, evil things. They flooded the judge with letters. When Shope came up before the federal judge in Indiana, the judge said, I don't think that 10 years is an adequate sentence for what you've done, for the betrayal of the public trust from the CULT behavior of all your church followers. So what they ended up doing was giving him, I think it was either 13 or 14 years. Yeah, Prairie. I almost feel that way myself. Shope is coming out. He's coming out February 2023. He's been in there for a long time now, but he's coming out. So I think the letters might actually backfire for Josh. I wouldn't doubt that the prosecutors are going to recommend what Emily D. Baker said. They're going to recommend that 8 to 12 range and say, we recommend the sentence be in this range. And the judges kind of come back with the judge's own decision on that. The judge is not dictated to by the prosecution as what the sentence could be. I want to say that I saw that the minimum sentence was 5 years for that, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I think I saw that. Anyway, long story short, the judge could say, I don't think that's adequate. Serve the full time. Or the judge could say, I'm setting all of this aside and giving you 5 years and setting that aside and putting you on probation. Anything could happen. That's still barely any time. I agree. That's still barely time. Wilkerson, I haven't kept up with that either. That's the nice thing. When I left NLQ, I spent nearly a year trying to decompress from what went on, because the last, I'd say, year and a half, 2 years that I was at NLQ, I had to deal with Anderson's people threatening my life, threatening to come over here and shave my head. And it was all because I exposed a SA thing going on at his church with 13, 14-year-old girls and young men over 18. Let's just say that. And when I started looking at the death of Olive Heiligenthal and the behavior of everybody at Bethel Redding in Redding, California, I started getting, I'm not going to say threats. I just got a lot of pushback and crazy from the members of his church. It was just the tech scandal. Yes, the tech scandal was evil. And somewhere I have all the documents on that. Social services got involved, and those people shipped their kids every which way to avoid them getting punished. And I've heard a lot about what's going on with the IFB since. There's been a lot of the new IFB since. A lot of stuff going on. There's splits. There's crazy. There's money changing hands that probably shouldn't change hands. There's starting to be some pushback in the new IFB against Steven Anderson, and that can only be a good thing. I'm going to have to take a look at that and explain all about Anderson and his Pope-like thing. But I think I'm probably going to, in my next video, write about what I'm dealing with right now with dealing with memories over Ron Luce and Teen Mania and what happened to my daughter. They really screwed her over. She ended up on a website called Recovering Alumni because there were so many people that came out of the Honor Academy that were just so horribly abused. And people who had, like my daughter, who had gone on Teen Mania mission trips, who'd been treated badly. A mother was quoted as to saying what her daughter would, abused in pics, would like to see happen to Josh. Are those people involved in the proceedings? They're going to be allowed to make a victim impact statement. I don't know if they've written that or if it's going to come in the form of them going and I don't know what form that's going to take. How is Anderson getting pushback? His other pastors are fighting with him right now. I'd have to go back and look at my notes. I have to take notes on everything because I got a senior brain. I don't remember everything like I once did. Teen Mania is kind of like YWAM, but it's a little bit different. Teen Mania mostly marketed itself through a series of conferences called Acquire the Fire. My daughter would go to these Acquire the Fire concerts, and they would have all these Christian rock bands. And they would be like, go, go, pump it up, very go. And they would appeal to kids that would normally go off in the goth direction or go off this direction. They had kids that were affiliated with it, were part of a movement called Straight Edge. My daughter was Straight Edge. And it was really a hype up to go out and take over the world using the Seven Mountain Mandate, but they didn't call it that there. And the other side of the Ron Luce organization was Teen Mania, and they promoted Teen Mania like crazy at Acquire the Fire. That's how my daughter ran across them. Acquire the Fire was kind of crazy even for then. It was kind of radical almost in some ways. And at the time, I admired them for trying to reach out to kids who were clearly of the world, worldly. So they had all these crazy mission trips they ran, and they were extremely expensive. I remember the trip where she went to Romania for the entire summer was like $7,000 or $8,000. I think we paid out of pocket. And they fed her peanut butter sandwiches every day. And it wasn't like there was anything luxurious going on. I didn't have a problem with that because I've always said that I think taking self-absorbed middle-class teens and letting them live what most people in this world live, either a second or third world situation, it's eye-opening. Mom of one of Josh's victims already wrote a statement skewering. Yeah. I hope Jill sends a letter too, Amy. I think that would be good. I have no problem believing that the Crouches abused a granddaughter. There's something about that extreme Christianity that it really does seem to foster abuse all the way along the line. Kids, women, and even I know some men that were abused by their wives, even though that is totally against being submissive. My husband this day teases me and says, "You are my chattel." And I said, "Oh, hell no, I'm not your chattel. I'm not your chattel at all. You can't say that. You can't do that. I'm going to do what I will do." I say that now. So the thing with Ron Luce and the whole Teen Mania thing is they would take your children to these overseas trips. And while it was good to have your teenagers put in these not great worlds because it was eye-opening, they didn't even take care of basic safety. There were several incidents that happened with my daughter. My daughter should have gone to the ER. That did not happen. The kids that are running Teen Mania, who were running Teen Mania and running Acquire the Fire, are all volunteers. So Ron Luce paid out no money for staff, none. They had everybody living in Quonset huts at the Spring Valley campus in Texas. They were running everything, the teenagers were, and the young adults. No money went out. It went all in Ron Luce's pocket. And there was a fair amount of abuse going on towards the people who were there in the Honor Academy that were running the whole show. They had no way to go to college. They were told they were be able to go to community college for free or reduced cost if they volunteered for this. There was this thing called ESOL, which was sort of kind of like boot camp, but way more abusive than boot camp. Imagine Christian boot camp or Lord of the Flies boot camp, I'm going to say, not even Christian boot camp, Lord of the Flies. They did stuff like at one point they had kept them up for a couple days and they were forcing them to run down this hill. They were forcing them to eat cat food. There was vomit they were rolling through. It was just crazy. And people were getting all kinds of injuries from this thing. And they weren't being treated at a hospital at all. And Ron Luce was putting all that money in his pocket. What happened was membership dropped off the more that these abuses came out. People stopped going. Ron Luce started suing, and being sued, I'm saying, because he was taking advertising dollars for these Acquire the Fire events, and he wasn't performing, and he canceled everything and kept the money. He has a new ministry now. I have just now started to dig into that because it kind of is disgusting to think that he exploited all those teenagers, so many of them now with trauma. So much of it, he's never once apologized for any of the crap that he pulled on those kids. A vulnerable population. And when I sent my daughter with her various health problems that came out of having ITP, I sent her with a laundry list of prescription drugs, everything from prescription eye drops through antibiotics, the kind of antibiotics you take when you get travel tummy, which happens. I travel with that stuff myself now. I sent her with antivirals because she routinely got shingles if she was stressed out. And I told them, this has to happen for her. If this happens and she gets her shingles and she gets run down and she starts running a fever, you're going to have to let her stay back and rest for a day or two. They assured me they would do all of this. They did not. She came back very sick, very, very ill, with smoke inhalation damage and all kinds of stuff going on. And they mistreated her and others. There were others that had serious medical issues that were on the trip with them who were denied medical care. And part of it was that they were in Romania, and things in Romania in the early 2000s, mid 2000s weren't in very good shape. Let's just put it that way. At that time, Romania was trying to join the EU. They had run out of currency and they were giving change out in little tiny cute little erasers and little trinkets and candy. And I got the biggest kick out of that, but it was just overwhelming what they put the kids through. And, I'm not smiling and laughing because I'm thinking about this and I just want to get my hands around somebody's neck and squeeze, even though I know that's not a solution. I sent my vulnerable teenager into that mess to my everlasting shame. What is this about? Java Man, I don't know. I got to look it up. And it's a bad day for me to be doing research because I'm flying out the door here very soon to go to the beach bar so my husband can see Fantanista. She's his favorite musician. She's playing for her last time here for some months, just going down, I want to say Brazil for a tour. So we got to do that. And then after that, we're going to the local, little theater production. It does sound odd. And I want to circle back to the whole Natalie Kennett thing. I want to point out that Natalie Kennett has just reemerged. Nikki, who was one of Roadhog's moderators, had Natalie on her live stream. Now, I haven't listened to it because I don't want to give Nikki a view. And supposedly she accused a various bunch of people of various crimes. That's what she does. And here's the other scary thing about that. She only appears and reappears when there are lawsuits against KJ. And then she has been apparently sending out all kinds of awful things against anyone opposed to KJ. Katie Joy can claim that Natalie has victimized her, but all I'm going to say is Nat Kennett only appears when KJ has lawsuits and or problems. The enemy of your enemy is not your friend. Absolutely, Java Man. I have had to learn that the hard way. I've kept quiet about people that I probably should have called out. I'm not doing that anymore. If I see somebody doing something horrible and messy, like I called out Backwoods Barbie for trying to claim that Natalie Kennett was Katie Joy, which is absolutely in no way, shape, or form true at all. Someone killed her Instagram site and it says she died. I saw that and I don't know how that went down. I thought you had to submit a an obit or a death certificate to do that. All I know is when these things happen, Natalie reappears. KJ claims she was hacked. And the rest of us get lots of corn in our email boxes. Tons and tons of corn. Somebody signed me up to work as a prostitute. I'm weeks away from being 62 years old. And I was just staring at this going, huh? No obit. Yeah, I already checked for the obit. There's no obit. I didn't see one. It might be a hacker. And people fake documents all the time. As you guys well know from watching me sometimes, I sometimes have Nigerian romance scammers that I fool with. I used to do scam baiting as a hobby. I loved being able to take down these people. I used to do it through 419 Eater. And there are people there that are experts at making fake legal documents. They've made them for me before. I've seen various people's fake legal documents. And they do it so that people can be busted and fooled. Someone reported it's Nat. That would not surprise me at all. But here's the thing. I think KJ is about to lose that first account. So this may have been a Katie Joy sponsored Natalie action to kill that first account and funnel everybody to the second one. She hasn't been able to post on it in a while. She does need more subs, Prairie, because Emily D. Baker is almost 100,000 subs more than her. And that has to be killing her. It has to be killing her. So I don't know. I do know that she's barely posted on Instagram. I think that she was on an Instagram spanking timeout. And that can happen for a lot of reasons. Like I said, I got a long timeout from Facebook because I made a joke about a coffee mug. And somebody reported it as a terroristic threat and something else. It was like, oh my gosh. It wasn't even directed at anybody. Nobody's name was on it. It was not to anybody. It was just a dumb joke along with everybody else's dumb jokes in that thread. I couldn't even get into the groups that I adminned for like 3 weeks because of this. The real question is, what would be an appropriate sentence for Josh? Everyone wants a maximum, but he's going to get that. How do we determine? Java Man, I think that he's going to probably get something on an 8 to 12 range that the prosecution is recommending. Many times a judge will use that as a guideline. But then again, like I explained about Jack Shope earlier, Shope got a much longer sentence than what he had even agreed to. And that was because his followers were bugging the judge, and it was so egregious what he'd done. And so I don't know how all that's going to play. Yeah, it's a wild card. Her Instagram site looks normal to me. What am I missing? Maybe they lifted it, Prairie, but they were listing her as deceased this morning. I saw screen caps of it. I just can't keep up with everything. So they were saying that it showed her as dead. Somebody probably faked up a death certificate and submitted it to Instagram, and they shut her down. That could be. My daughter has all my legacy settings on everything I do and has my permission to post that I have gone on the great adventure. That's what I call death. So, because we don't know what's on the other side. We don't know if there is another side. Maybe it ends. Who knows? So that's really what you should do. You should have one designated person as a legacy contact. And that person is the only person that is allowed to do that. So, Prairie, yeah, she could have done it. Yeah, dirt nap. I won't be taking a dirt nap. I'm going to get cremated. I already told my family where I want them to scatter my ashes, and I don't want to be in some pine box planted in the ground for the rest of my life. Or give my body to science. God knows it's freaky enough with all my various illnesses through the years that they probably should study some why. I'm hoping it's after Josh's last kid turns 18. That's what I would hope for, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. Here's something that I don't think Anna has thought about, that I've thought about a lot. He's coming out as a registered sex offender, even if he gets out the day of the sentencing. He's going to be on the registry. It's very likely that it will be ordered for him not to be in a home with any minors, including his children. And if that happens, what I foresee happening then is Anna turning her children over to Jim Bob and Michelle to raise so that she could be a wife to Josh. No, Java man, I want to spend eternity someplace prettier than KJ's house. I've actually told my family to go to Playa Grande and release me because I've spent so many wonderful hours there. I've spent wonderful hours with my family there. And I can't think of a better place to be for the rest of eternity. Playa Grande, any document from Jim Bob concerning his precious support for the death penalty for such offenses. No. And that's what's funny, Java man, because he did say that. He supported that when he was a state representative. He said there should be death penalty for child molesters and people who participate in child porn, which just shows what an enormous hypocrite he is. He said that, and now he has backtracked so far, he doesn't even think there should have been a trial. I am smiling because I'm thinking about the hypocrisy of one Mr. Jim Bob Duggar. He is enormously suffering from what my good friend Cindy Kunzman calls cranial rectal inversions, head up the rear end. Somebody should send that to the judge. I'm sure somebody did. I'm sure he is, Jackie. But the thing is, his parents made him like that. They have always rubber stamped everything he's ever done. They've refused to let him have any kind of real consequences for a damn thing in his life. That's one way that you create these things. And I was thinking earlier too, that the label sociopath might be a good one as well, because he's shown zero remorse over anything he's ever done. He's very prideful. I don't see any remorse ever expressed for anything he's ever done. Just look at that picture of him and that stupid little smirk when they took him into custody. Prairie, I know that to be true too. I've talked to so many people that live in NWA, and there's not much respect or like for any of them. They're not well regarded. Yeah, Java. Yeah. So I don't think Josh has possibly be strapped to the chair anytime soon. He's not going to take a ride on old Sparky. I'm sure it will go well in prison too for him to have that smirk. Part of me is kind of giggling, and the other part of me is horrified in parts, because I know that prison is going to be an enormous adjustment for Josh. He is used to being King Turd on Crap Mountain, so now he's going to have to, his entire life will be laid out by other people, and he himself will now be submissive in every way to other people. Submissive. Yeah, Angela, I'm having questions about that too. I don't know who she is or any of that. They suck too. That's why they should throw the book at him. Yes, he is a sociopath. He sure seems like he has a lot of the characteristics. You just learned about Lori Alexander? Oh my goodness, what I can tell you about that woman. I used to write about her a lot at NLQ because she came up with these just really bizarre, out there ideas and presented them as if they were God's truth. I think that Ketanji Brown Jackson was right. Congress needs to update these laws for digital child. Yeah, they absolutely do. They need to update their laws on everything to do with the internet and digital, because, like, look back to the Natalie Kennett thing. The FBI told Saltz they cannot prosecute her for swatting him and for hate crimes towards him and threats and anti-Semitic remarks. They can't do anything because she's in another country and the laws don't support that. I know everybody has already filed with West Mercia Police Department against Natalie. The laws had to be updated, including the laws that cover international behavior, before anything could be done. You went to OZ this week. It's like an art gallery. That's awesome. So I don't know what's gonna happen. He's sentenced on my son's birthday, so that's another interesting little aside there. It's kind of like, is this going to be a birthday present or a birthday spanking? Only time will tell. I hope that he gets a maximum. I doubt he will. We are very behind with those digital. Oh, you went to the temple in Kensington. Oh, I'm sorry. I was so thrown there for a minute, Hermes Mom, because I really wasn't sure. Oh, I wasn't sure. People come in and say things, and sometimes I know, and sometimes I'm like, oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about. But I'm going to be nice and supportive anyway. Is this court proceeding public Zoom? I don't know, Jan. I got to check into that because I would like to watch the sentencing. I don't know how this is all going to play out because, like I said, it's federal. I don't know what federal laws are on that. I know they have a lot of the different sentencing things and not sentencing, his hearings on Zoom. We all know that because Katie Joy took screen caps and live streamed them against the rules, and nothing happened to her. Nothing happened to her. Okay, I'm going to go. I got to look at this thing where somebody made KJ unalive for her Instagram. That's such a bizarre thing. Such a bizarre thing. And I can honestly say this. Even when the new IFB was talking about cutting my head off and shaving my head and all this other things, nobody ever tried to go into any of my things and try to change anything or describe me as dead or anything. No one hacked me, none of that. And I don't understand why KJ would not have two-step authentication and then not go through a VPN to cut down on this crap. Okay. She should. She absolutely should, Java Man. VPN and two-factor authentication. All of her accounts set to a private email address that nobody knows, and it's not going to be easy to obtain. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. I'm running out of breath here, and I got to go be social. And I'm not a social animal. I prefer to sit back and watch everybody and everything else. That's me. But it is the beach, so I guess I can't complain too much. Love you guys. I'll see you later.